don't go to school and I kill people. Whatever, I do what I want.
Oh, he's such a cutie.
In fact, dog owners are among the most entitled people you will ever encounter in your life. They are the living embodiment of give an inch, take a mile. As a direct corollary of this, dogs are among the most pampered and privileged living things on the planet. The biggest freeloaders ever, that is for sure. If you doubt this, consider the following facts. Dogs consume billions of pounds of food annually, which is needed by humans. Dogs grow fat, while children starve, and are increasingly being humanized, even infantilized. We are also seeing an increasing push for dogs to have all sorts of unprecedented rights and abilities granted to them. American dogs often get costly medical treatments denied to poor people. Drug companies spend $500 million per year on first-world pet health, and dogs, of course, are the most common pet animal. Everything dogs have and get, it is just for existing, but also because of how they are marketed as some must-have item, not only for families, but even as a substitution for such. Dogs are now promoted heavily to anyone and everyone. If the dog industrial complex had its way, there would be at least one of these stinking bark bags in every home. Dogs are promoted as natural child companions and family must-haves, but they are also promoted as a necessity for single-person households, for everyone and everything. Dog owners feel entitled to break and totally disregard the rules and laws they don't like. But make no mistake, if they could, they would strictly enforce the laws they do like, namely, the ones that protect them and the vile critters they impose everywhere these days. They feel entitled to pollute local environments through their dogs' waste excretions, to endanger lives around them by owning hideous, uncontrollable monsters, and they feel entitled to impose their questionable lifestyle choice onto others. They feel entitled to bring their dogs into numerous places where dogs are not only very out of place, but also not universally enjoyed. It is as if they either fail to understand that not everyone wants dogs around, or they simply do not care either way. They do not care about people with allergies or past traumatic experiences with dogs. Some of them will take their dogs literally everywhere they themselves go, or at least attempt to do so.
I once was a happy man of sound and stable mind. Then my neighbor bought a dog.
Even if some dog owners are not as entitled as others, they are still inconsiderate. Most of the reasons that will be listed will be related to this sense of entitlement and lack of basic consideration that dog owners tend to exhibit. While some dog owners do make efforts to be somewhat more considerate than the worst dog owners, that's not a very high bar to set. And these are really just very basic expectations, like not letting their mutant charge at people in public or bark their fool heads off all the time. But these days, many dog owners allow their dogs to roam freely and to do whatever the hell they want.
Whatever, I do what I want.
Still, just having a dog at all shows a lack of basic regard for the individual well-being and collective public health of others. And, as someone else said online before,
the problem with having a dog is that when you have a dog, everyone else has your dog as well.
Take dog walking, for example. The only reason, besides the dog getting some exercise, for taking a dog outside in this fashion is so that the dog can deposit its waste outside, albeit in public. Actually, that is the main reason why it is done. Dogs are the only pet where this is a requirement. Dog barking is another obvious example. This is another of many problems unique to dogs and dog ownership. While some dogs can be trained not to bark at everything, as it seems it is their instinct to do, many simply are not. Barking crosses property lines and disrupts the peace. Of course, to hear dog nutters tell it, barking isn't an issue. This, despite the fact that barking is a harsh, discordant, and most abrasive sound, and a sound that carries for quite a distance, and an exceedingly common cause for noise complaints. In fact, it is the most consistent such issue and is far more persistent and widespread than any other type of noise complaint. Many places have local laws regulating noise, but dog barking seems to be immune. In other words, dog owners obviously know that dogs have this effect, and they will tell you themselves, "Dogs bark, it's what they do." As if we didn't already realize this. No shit, Sherlock. That's the problem. They know dogs do such things, and yet they still choose to own dogs. Dogs, which increasingly less owners will bother to train these days. This is important to note, because supposedly there are ways to train dogs not to bark like lunatics. And whatever that entails, less and less dog owners are doing it. At the same time, more and more people are being tricked into thinking they need to get a dog. So there are more dogs and more maximally inconsiderate dog owners. You do the math.
This all harkens back to the sacrosanct status dogs have. Additionally, while even the most deluded dog nutter can't deny that dog attacks are a thing, most of them likewise don't seem to recognize the dog's intrusiveness as a major source of aggravation for people everywhere. And this is something that affects other animals as well, since dogs tend to exhibit a strange and intense interest in other living things. Rather than being cautious or scared of potential threats in the form of other animals, many of which are considerably larger than them, dogs readily approach, harass, bark at, and attempt to attack a number of other animals on sight. And believe it or not, despite the fact that dog nutters can't deny the existence of dog attacks, many of them even downplay the fact that dogs are ruining neighborhoods, sidewalks, front lawns, various green spaces, nature preserves, and other local environments with their waste. They try to downplay the fact that multiple dogs everywhere actually crap and piss outside on a daily basis multiple times a day. In their mind, if the solid waste is picked up, there is no problem. But what's happening here is downright nasty, because not only do many owners not pick up after their dogs, this is still a form of contamination. Dog urine is toxic to plants and can even kill trees. And dog excrement is incredibly toxic and spreads bacteria and parasitic worms around.
So, in addition to being socially irresponsible and, in effect, antisocial in the strictest sense of the term, no dog owners consider the collective destruction their lifestyle choice causes to society at large in the form of negative externalities and the environment as a whole.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Dog ownership is incredibly destructive. Dog ownership isn't simply an innocuous consumer choice. It is damaging to mental and physical human health, to wildlife and livestock animals, and to animals and the environment in general. It is the result of an ongoing public health crisis, which has thus far gone largely unacknowledged outside of outlets such as this one. Dogs are even destructive to social cohesion. Their mere presence is needlessly damaging to human relations. Think of how many conflicts would be avoided if dogs were simply no part of the equation. There are plenty of examples, and many of us have personally witnessed more than one ourselves. Dogs are massive eco-destroyers, and dog ownership is terrible for the environment. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that the typical dog generates 0.75 pounds of waste per day. Across the 89 or so million dogs estimated to be living in the United States in 2017, that's over 33,000 tons of feces per day. Owning a medium-sized dog has a comparable carbon footprint to one or two large SUVs. A quarter of the animal protein raised in the U.S. goes to feed pets, and most of that goes towards dogs. A lot of these problems were known to us and fully acknowledged at least as far back as the 1970s. In point of fact, it was during the tail end of this decade that a book titled The Dog Crisis was written. I have also referenced this work in multiple previous uploads.
Dog owners tend to be incredibly irresponsible. Much of what was previously stated speaks to this already, but perhaps the greatest example is with regard to how few restrictions there are on dog ownership, in particular with regard to breeding and the overall proliferation of dogs. We are well past the overpopulation crisis that was noted several decades ago. There are only more dogs in the world since then, and now more than ever, households with dogs are likely to have multiple dogs rather than just one, or occasionally maybe two, as was more typical during most previous decades. Because there are so few, if any, limitations on how many dogs can be bred, or for what purpose, dogs the world over are severely overpopulated. In addition to all of this, the arbitrary and selective breeding which humans subject dogs to has a number of negative effects on dogs themselves. Moreover, dog owners themselves are the ones who abuse and neglect dogs, whether it is done out of ignorance or malice. The reality is that almost every time a dog is harmed, it is either a consequence of the dog's behavior or the owner's actions. Sometimes it is a combination of these, but often it is only one or the other. And yes, dog nutter, you can blame just the dog at times. But this is the point. Those of us who wish to avoid all contact with dogs are the least likely to harm dogs. Those who choose to be around dogs for extended periods of time, and in general really, are the most likely to harm dogs, and they are almost always the ones responsible for such things. It is, in fact, dog owners themselves who place those of us in the dogiverse community in the position of having to harm dogs, namely, in the context of practicing self-defense against their unprovoked attacks. It is only dog owners, dog fanatics, and individuals who gravitate specifically towards dogs, who engage in activities like dog fighting, whether they support it directly or indirectly, or bestiality. It is only these people who leave dogs in hot cars and acquire snow dogs, such as an Alaskan Malamute or a Siberian Husky, even though they live in deserts or subtropical environments. Only dog owners choose to do things that endanger the lives of dogs, other pets and animals, and members of their own communities, whether they realize it or wish to admit it or not. Finally, only these people likewise commit criminal negligence involving dogs and people.
You know you're a super creep, 'cause the things you do won't let you sleep. Got no friends, only enemies, now you got one more.
A staggering percentage of dog owners are either misanthropic, antisocial, sociopathic, psychopathic, narcissistic, or morally nihilistic, or some combination thereof. Many are at least 2 or 3 of these. Ultimately, they are self-hating to some extent, or at least they would be if they were fully consistent. After all, when many of them go on about how terrible they think humanity is, or what pests people are, they conveniently seem to omit themselves from such judgments. Although they obviously imply that they must believe this to be true about themselves when they speak about humanity as though it were universally rotten. And they do very much seem to believe this to be the case, don't they?
So, Miss Cartman, you can't control your child?
Oh, my little poopsikins gets into no-nos once in a while, but he's still my perfect little sumsy kiddles.
Then, there are all the idiotic and unbelievable excuses they often make for the innately atrocious behavior of their preferred pet, the domestic dog. This includes, but is not limited to, victim blaming, gaslighting, and trite sayings like, "he don't bite." What's especially offensive and astounding is when fully grown adults say moronic things like, "my dog just wants to play," or "she's just saying hi," or "he's never done that before." Listen, Nutter, if your dog's idea of play involves the thing using its teeth or its claws, or running at me full speed without any warning, then you can find another lunatic to play those ridiculous games with. I, unlike you, am a sane individual. I value my personal safety, and I am sanitary. So no thanks, Nutter. Keep that nonsense to yourself. You may find this shocking, but there are people out there who don't wish to be approached by any dog for any reason. We don't care if you stupidly believe your dumb dog is saying hi, as though it were a person. It doesn't matter if you have all the confidence in the world that your dog won't bite. And finally, you shouldn't operate under the assumption that everyone else is a dog person like yourself. Dogs make many people uncomfortable, and even in the best-case scenario, there's absolutely no reason to engage with a dog or allow to have physical contact with us. They're just going to dirty our clothes or scratch our skin with their nasty soiled paws by pouncing on us, or get snot or other nasty dog effluvia on us when they sniff us. But your dog could also take a chunk out of us, or far worse. We never consented to have a dog anywhere near us.
Leashes exist for a reason. Use them, and you damn well better make it short. Period!
But oh, we are not nearly done. There is no debate to be had about whether or not dogs attack people. It is undeniable. It is also fairly well known how intrusive and obnoxious dogs can be, although many of the same people who acknowledge that dogs can certainly be dangerous will outright deny these last 2 qualities, even though they are fairly typical of dogs. Since there is no debate to be had about whether dogs attack, Apologists will line up to tell you all about why a dog will attack without cause. But the truth is that loose dogs are a plague and a menace on many city streets and in rural areas. Even dogs behind fences are a major social bane, as they are visibly and audibly aggressive towards everyone around, for absolutely no reason. Dogs are attacking children left and right, and no one seems to care. In the lives of so many, dogs are truly public enemy number one.
Dogs are fundamentally incompatible with humanity. The list of things that can trigger a dog to become aggressive, or to attack a person who is not a threat to it at all, is as long as the Empire State Building is tall. All you have to do is wear a hat around a dog or deliver a package to an address, and you will quickly be disabused of the notion that dogs are a good fit for human society. Remember, the common dog is an animal that is known to respond to many ordinary and innocuous human behaviors with aggression, with angry barking, following, lunging, even biting.
I won't spend too much time on this one, as I have devoted full videos to it before. But dog owners are just plain disgusting. There seems to be a lot of nose blindness at work with dog owners, and they don't seem to realize how nasty and repugnant dogs truly are. The worst offenders certainly have no disgust sensitivity whatsoever. Many will allow dogs to lick them right in the face, sometimes even inside their mouths. And even when they don't go that far, they still live with a creature they know does all kinds of gross things all the time on a daily basis. I won't detail them here, but most of us know what they are. Dog owners should know better than us what those nasty habits are. Some of them are even aware that dogs do nasty things, like licking their faces and mouths while they sleep. But this still won't stop them from allowing their dogs inside their bedrooms. Many of them will not only allow their dogs to live indoors, in fact, this seems to be the norm these days, but they will even allow these filthy brutes to get in their beds and on their furniture. They will allow them to go into their bathrooms, and they will wash them in their tubs. Nothing is off limits. Some of the more extreme nutters even insist that keeping a dog outside the house and keeping an indoor dog off the furniture and out of the bedroom is tantamount to abuse. Actually, they say it literally is abuse. It is odd how many dog nutters have no self-respect or a healthy sense of boundaries when it comes to dogs, as dogs are thoroughly impositional. It's almost like a match made in hell. Dogs will impose themselves in every way possible if left to their own devices, and dog nutters seem to have no limitations as to how carried away they will get with their bizarre infatuation over these creatures. What they will allow dogs to do to them, to others, to basically anyone really, it is staggering. And yes, as many of us know full well, some of these people do everything you could do with a human, with their dogs. And I mean everything. You can use your imagination to figure out what that means, but it would be better if you didn't, because it is beyond disgusting. Even when some of these people only sleep with their dogs in the literal sense, as in sleeping next to their dogs but where nothing beyond that is occurring, it is still incredibly unhygienic and just plain gross.
Although this mostly applies to dog owners with large and overly aggressive dogs, small and medium-sized dogs can still harass and attack people. But many dog nutters straight up harbor animals that are just as bad as any common terrorist, if not far worse. A country with a great number of stray dogs would be a nightmare to live in, and there are several like that. I have lived in one myself, though thankfully not for very long. The children of dog nutters have no choice about living with dogs, but today many of us have it bad, in neighborhoods all around the world. It used to be that you had to live in a particularly run-down or undeveloped and neglected part of town, or in some country where dogs pollute the streets in droves with sheer numbers, in order to understand that many loose dogs equals a most unpleasant state of affairs. But today, there is no escape. And unless you're literally a multimillionaire or billionaire who can escape to an island or an expansive private plot on which you can control all sorts of variables, you're basically stuck with the barking, the fouling, the harassment and constant risk of attack from dogs and all the rest of it. This ranges from loose pit bulls, pit mixes or other large aggressive dogs in developed nations, to packs of violent strays in developing countries and impoverished neighborhoods in the developed nations. Rural roads in parts of America are getting pretty bad in this regard. A female dog nutter I was arguing with on YouTube a few years ago once referred to her carne corso monsters as a form of homeland security. How ironic, considering that dogs exactly like those are the ones that terrorize neighborhoods when they are loose. And all it takes is for one or two of them to be running about, although a pack is a nightmare out of a dystopian hellscape of some sort. Dog owners with murder mutts, you know, the monster maulers, who do anything short of keeping their hellhounds in a tiger enclosure, are basically domestic terrorists. After all, they own something that terrorizes entire communities, and they know full well what these wretched beasts are capable of doing to people.
Beware, it's a scary world. Demons everywhere.
Perhaps the worst thing about these people is that they are pretty much everywhere, not unlike dogs themselves. Because of these nutters' bizarre consumer and lifestyle choices, dogs are inescapable. Nutters are everywhere. They are our co-workers, our nurses, doctors and surgeons. They are our neighbors, our delivery drivers and servers at restaurants. They are our cooks, our dentists, our professors and our corporate overlords. They are the ones who advertise and market things to us. They are wealthy and small-time capitalist business owners, and they are among the most impoverished and propertyless as well. The homeless have dogs, but so do the wealthy. Now that is truly the stuff of nightmares, isn't it?
And finally, number 10, because there are tons of valid reasons for hating everything you lot stand for, and all the awful things you people enable and permit dogs to cause. Yet, despite this, you people are somehow still able to carry on with business as usual? What many of you are doing is criminal. Dog nuttery today is an unrecognized mental illness, like IHD said. But if you really want to know what people have against you, ponder the following basic reasons.